All right, good morning. It's 9 a.m. and I'm going to be calling the meeting of August 22nd of the Rossmore Walnut Creek Board, calling the meeting to order. And Deborah, could we have a roll call, please?
Certainly. Hildreth?
Present.
Bentley?
Here.
Selden?
Here.
Byram?
Present.
Amaji?
Here.
Spence?
Here.
Ruvalo?
Here.
Warren? Here. Yang? Here. Got it. And Matheson?
Here.
Okay.
Thank you, Deborah. Before we...
Members are entitled to speak during the designated open forum portion of this meeting, whether attending in person or via Zoom. Each speaker is limited to 2 minutes. If speaking on behalf of another member, additional instructions provided on the forum slips must be followed. All speakers must clearly state their full name and Rossmore address before beginning their comments. Please be advised that this meeting is being broadcast and recorded. By attending and participating in this meeting, including during the open forum, each attendee agrees to and releases the Rossmore Walnut Creek from all liability for their voice and/or likeness being recorded and broadcast for any lawful purpose without compensation. Thank you.
Before we get started, I would just like to read a statement for the good of the order here. The board has received a number of communications regarding the general manager's contract. Please be assured that the board is aware of the pending conclusion of the current contract and has a timeline and process in place to address this board responsibility. If you wish to review the general manager's current contract, it is available for you to review in the board office. Please contact Deborah Rose if you would like to review the contract. And now we will move on to approval of the minutes. Do we have any changes or corrections to the minutes? No. Okay, they will stand approved. And then we will hear a report from Matt Francois, I know Vice Mayor, and we want to hear about the nut. We want to hear that, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Well, you know it's a slow news day, and everything is generally right in the world when we're talking about what sort of nickname we should call our city. And apparently, the younger generation is inclined to call it the Nut. And there have been hats emblazoned with that logo. I myself will always probably refer to it as the Creek or Walnut Creek. But it might be a generational thing. But it generally it's gotten a lot of traction on social media, and it's been kind of fun. You haven't seen me since June. With the 4th of July holiday, we had one meeting in July, and then we had another 1 month break and had a meeting on August 18th. So I do have a few updates for you. In terms of council business, at our July 21st meeting, we held a kickoff meeting for the general plan update. Our commissions had already held that meeting and provided input. I did relay to staff the request that there be a presentation either to the board or a workshop specifically designed for the Rossmore community on the general plan update. We also provided input on the master fee schedule update. I think I've reported that to you before. It's sort of the technical, wonky update to our fee schedule. The policy change that we made was that city residents will get a 10% discount on certain arts and rec programs. So we wanted to recognize city residents for supporting the city always, but including with Measure O, and so that'll be reflected in the new fee schedule that takes effect in January 1st. And we also voted to place the Walnut Creek Senior Housing Transit Village Initiative on this November's ballot. So while we're on the subject of this November's ballot, for the local races, there were 2 seats up this year on the city council, my seat and Cindy Silva's seat. We have both decided that we will not run for re-election. There were only 2 candidates that filed within the closing period, Sharice Cound and Brendan Moran. They're both terrific, going to be terrific council members. They're on the planning, both serving on the planning commission now. Sharice was a school board member for Mount Diablo before joining the Planning Commission, and Brendan was a Parks and Recreation Open Space Commissioner. So they're going to hit the ground running and do a lot of good work, and I'm excited to see them join the council. So those are the two council races. I talked about the Walnut Creek Senior Housing Initiative. That's for a part of that office park across from BART. It's called Ignacio Center. Most of the office buildings would remain. The shorter two-story office annex and a little part at the corner there, if this initiative measure passes, could be changed to a senior housing development. The developer's also talking about making it a mixed-use center with a grocery store and commercial uses to really enliven that area, which it needs to bring more energy to that side of town. So it'd be exciting if that full vision comes to fruition. So those are, you will vote on that this November, and then rounding out your local ballot measure initiatives will be Measure T, which was a measure the full city council supports and put on the ballot. And that measure would make the city treasurer position, it would convert it from an elected position to an appointed position under the theory that you don't choose your financial professional based on politics or elections, who's the most qualified person for the job. And right now, the only qualifications we can impose legally on that position is that it be a city resident. So we need to have someone with financial management experience, a CPA preferably, and that's why we've decided to put that measure on the ballot. The Chamber of Commerce supports it, and you'll be getting more information on that coming up in your ballot pamphlet. So that was our July meeting, and the election coming up this November. At our August 18th meeting last week, we provided input on the electric vehicle strategic plan and adopted the ultimate master fee schedule, which I already talked about, and denied an appeal of a short-term rental out in the Woodlands, which was causing some concerns and nuisance issues for the neighbors and hadn't gone through the proper channels. On the electric vehicle strategic plan, two components. One of them is we have to electrify the city's fleet of vehicles, and the second one dealt with the city-owned EV chargers. The city has about 40 EV chargers, mostly in the downtown area, some out in the Shadelands Art Center. And we've had ongoing maintenance issues with those. We don't currently charge to charge at those stations, so they're in the library and at all the city garages. To try to provide better customer service, we gave direction to staff to hire a consultant, or to go out for proposals to hire a consultant that would manage those EV chargers and ultimately expand and grow them, because we see that as the future. There are about 200 chargers citywide, and about 40 of those are city-owned. So let's see, that gets you up to speed, I think, on city business. I'll say, I wanted to let you know, too, that last week the mayor and I welcomed a visiting youth exchange delegation from Kita City, Japan, which is not a sister city, but we're hoping it will be one day. Right now it's called a partner city, so it's a sister city in training. We had 12 high school students from Kita, various city officials and other representatives, and the kids got a full day of the nut. They were able to get a tour of the police department, the backstage at the Leisure Center. They provided a presentation to us in the evening in the rotunda at the Leisure Center, where they did a fantastic PowerPoint presentation in impeccable English of presenting to us their city and letting us know they have something like 40 city council members, and the city is 250,000 to 300,000 people. It's a suburb of Tokyo. So it was really fun to meet them and interact with them and welcome them back. I also want to let you know that we have some new bike lockers downtown at Bonanza and Locust and Duncan and Broadway. So these are not just the bike racks, but ones that you can actually put your bike into, and it'll be secure from the weather and the elements and be safe and in that storage locker. So other bike lockers are at City Hall, Broadway Garage, and Walnut Creek BART. Wanted to let you know as well that the Walnut Creek Aquanuts are our world-renowned artistic swimming team that is based right here in Walnut Creek and has over the years produced many Olympians of that caliber. So it's that caliber of a program. They will have a show on Labor Day weekend called Viva Las Vegas. It'll be at the Clark Swim Center, and performances will be nightly, the 3rd through the 6th. You can get tickets online. A great group of young women that not only are fantastic athletes, but they show up in anytime the city asks for community service volunteers, they're always there lending a hand, and really proud to have them as part of our city. And then just looking ahead to our September 1st meeting, we're scheduled to hear a proclamation for Emergency Preparedness Month, discuss short-term rental regulations, and receive an update on council priorities. And you've heard me talk about those before, but to recap, economic development, environmental sustainability, general plan update, park and recreation facilities, and public safety and social wellness. I wanted to report back on board member's question about the cannabis regulations. The mayor brought that up at the last meeting and indicated that would be discussed as part of the general plan update. So it's not fallen off, but it's being housed kind of as part of that discussion. And I know board member Bentley and I have connected on defensible space regulations and potential funding sources. So I've connected him with the fire district representative. It doesn't appear that there's funding for that right at the moment. They obviously did secure a grant for the shaded fuel break program between Rossmore and Lafayette, but at least now hopefully we have a contact, and I'll get that to Jeff too, so that you know who to contact at the fire department, so you're in the loop if those additional funding opportunities come forward, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Oh, go ahead, Adrian.
You mentioned about moving to electric vehicles by the city throughout your fleet. When do you anticipate that being feasible?
The regulations require us to implement them by 2028. We can get extensions, and it doesn't apply to light-duty vehicles. It applies to heavier-duty vehicles. So our consultant is saying that it's feasible for us to make that transition. The general lifetime of the cars is like 10 years, 100,000 miles. So it's at the end of the useful life of the vehicle that when it gets replaced, it has to be replaced with an electric vehicle.
Any other questions? I have a quick question. You talked about the priorities with economic development. Were you surprised that the restoration hardware, huge project, is not coming to fruition? And do you have any ideas of what might replace it or what might happen there?
We're all a little surprised by that. That project was moving along very well. It had been set for a planning commission 2 weeks before the application was withdrawn. There's speculation as to why it was withdrawn, if it was perhaps some sort of negotiation move with the owner of the mall, which is Mace Rich, to try to come up with different terms of the lease. That's speculation on my part. I don't know that's a fact. I hope that that if that is the case, that they're able to work out a deal and they come back in, because I think it would be a great addition and really cement that important corner. If it's not, the Mace Rich is talking about breaking up the space into potentially multiple different retailers and keep it so in the existing building. That's the latest that I've heard.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you all. Have a good day. Tom Cashin, thank you, Tom.
I think we are ready for Todd to review our financial report.
morning, board. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Maxine. So we'll get this up. It's a little brighter. There we go. Okay, we're going to start with RPM this morning. So a lot of the same trends we've seen the last couple of months are the same ones that we're seeing through July. Obviously, the whole team is sprinting forward to the budget hearings and budget meetings here in just a couple weeks, and so doing reforecasting the year. So we'll have some really good numbers and discussions. The thing of note, which we reported out the last couple months, where we are running a deficit right now on the income statement. Majority of that is up in the billable services under the operating side. And we are doing, Euron and John and his team, along with Jason, are doing a deep dive on just really looking at the billable hours for the forecast, on the timing on some of that. So we will have a lot more information as we get into the budget meetings in terms of what we expect the fourth quarter to look like and how we may make up some of that. We're also making sure that we have captured all the billable hours from field service management. So we're doing an audit on that as well. So it slipped a little more in July. However, July was a good month. So in terms of just timing and getting all those hours into the system, you'll see August to be a little bit better. But we're going to obviously do more of a deep dive on, talk about that in the budget meeting in terms of, those are the two revenue items, and I know the board's familiar, but for people that are here, those are the two revenue items we really don't have a tremendous control over in terms of, there's a sales funnel, right, that is for the mutuals using our own in-house team, right? And so if they decide to use our team, obviously, that's billable income for us. But if they were to go to a third-party contractor, right? So I would say as we talk in a couple weeks, I would say this is one of the areas that's a risk for our budgeting process because it's hard to just control that sales funnel, right? Everything else, if you look at the expenses for the size we are, it's pretty good budgeting, right? So we are really doing pretty well across the board. We just kind of need to look at that other revenue that we're trying to go after on the service order side. Any questions on RPM? Okay.
Looks good.
Yeah. Jeff, go ahead and go to RWC. Standalone. Great. So good news, right? We might have the deficit on the RPM side, but on RWC, we are still running a very nice surplus. Obviously, we continue to see that positive variance on insurance, right? Which is, we've talked about this throughout this year. So that's a very positive number for us in terms of continuing to keep that nice surplus. So obviously, then when we're on a consolidated basis, we're in really good financial shape. If you guys remember last month, we did talk about the highlighting of those variances, which is where you see that expanded area, like in insurance. Above that is the IT expense. So we are obviously reforecasting that. And for the budget, as we mentioned, we're going to have expanded chart of accounts on the computer maintenance side. We're going to take that line item and expand it into the SaaS products, which are the services like NetSuite. They're actually the enterprise budget versus like laptop support like Microsoft Office. And then third bucket will be hardware infrastructure like networking and stuff like that. So we're going to have a better look in how we budget that versus just one line item for 2027. I will say though, even though we are a little bit backwards on this one, a lot of that is timing. This is one of those line items that we had just, we didn't seasonalize it, right? A lot of this was new on our subscriptions. A lot of them are quarterly. We will see Q4, this number come back in line, given timing on when we get bills, right? So it's a little bit front-loaded heavy through July in terms of how we pay some of those quarterly dues, subscriptions. And so we will see some positive variances in the fourth quarter. And obviously we'll be able to talk in detail to this whole, obviously this is a very, I think, important part of our budget talks is our new infrastructure and everything that we've been spending on NetSuite and the other enterprise tools. So a couple weeks from now, we'll dig into it during our budget meetings. Then we talked about the insurance. That's a variance on the other direction. And then also just wanted to highlight, total utilities expense is in line with our variances. But you can see the expanded this one just so you kind of see what's in there. And a lot of that is also, timing on some of the PG&E bills. They're on the 15th. There's some timing issues just when every month we actually get them closed depending on how they've come in. So no red flags. Everything is expected is what we see for what I see up here. So there's no red flags at all. We did provide in your deck, per the recommendation of our finance committee, you'll see this month, you'll have a little more detailed expanded balance sheet, right? Not to go into the weeds this morning, but certainly any board member that wants to have a deep discussion on some of those categories and spend some time understanding maybe how to read that. But certainly I think it's important to reach out to me, myself and Amanda and schedule some time and we can go through it in detail. So.
Questions? Oh, go ahead, Ted.
Ted.
So I'm not sure how, relevant this is right now, but we talked about seasonality with this stuff. So were we going to have something here where we could see, because we have like January to July on the budget, right? And then you got the budget number right here. To know that we're in the position we should be at the time we're in. I gotta, I know that we got to go out to the end of the year to get the numbers to see if we're all right or anything. Is there going to be anything, just a plus or minus on where we should be on at this time of year on a particular thing? So it should drive our attention to that.
Yeah, I think to answer that question, yes, but not quite exactly where we want to be, right? Okay. So this is the first year we're trying to use Adaptive. Workday Adaptive is our complementary budgeting forecasting tool, right? So as we kind of put the forecast culture into our organization, which has really never been there, we will see for the budget, obviously, from the past where we just doubled some, we'll actually see the variances to this year and where we expected to finish, right? And then I think obviously for 2027, some of those areas, even like the IT is a perfect example, where we can actually put even more seasonality in, so we can actually have, take away a lot of the variance conversations on timing, right? So there's some very unique things that, in terms of some of those big expense timings, we will be able to talk those 10.
I realize this is the first year on it, so within the next year or the year after, that'll be refined down each time and get more and more info?
Yeah, matter of fact, what we're gonna do, so obviously we're gonna be approving, the annual budget. But once that budget, is approved, we will go back and make sure so when we get the approved budget, it'll exist in two places, right? It'll exist in Workday for our forecasting side, which obviously pulls all the actuals from NetSuite, but it'll also be then loaded into NetSuite by month, right? And so that will then reflect exactly what you're asking. So as we move into these financial reports in 27, we will have that exact seasonality you're just mentioning.
Great, thank you.
Has a question.
One of the finance committee members asked this, and I don't know that I understood the answer. So They asked if the variances would ever be, I know you're busy with still adjusting, but if they would ever be pulled out and just like 1 or 2 lines describing what those variances are each month, so that when we look at the financial reports, we can look at that summary.
Yeah,
Is that in the
that
works?
is coming quickly.
Okay.
So we actually, it'll be fun to talk about that question too in October's meeting when we talk about the AI, use of AI, and kind of speak to what we're using. Because to pull out, causation and narratives on those variances, right? And what the right threshold is that pulls in the appropriate level to talk about them, right? So versus just talking about so the finance committee trying to pull out, like on this IT one, for example, is a great example, right? So we're over the 10% and $100,000 threshold, right? So as we look at, we want to talk about a variance that is significant in dollars or significant in percent, but not necessarily, they kind of both need to be there, right? Those metrics or KPIs, whatever you want to talk about, the dashboard or almost like the treasurer's report for a mutual, when we give this report going forward, we'll have much top level information for everyone at a glance, because there's just a lot of data here, right? It's almost overwhelming, right? So we are really close to having it all scripted, and actually you guys are going to see a new format that is driven through our use of AI on these reports that pull in key metrics, Leanne, and we'll also be able to add narratives and provide you guys with a causation. So.
Yeah, that'll really be a great tool, especially for new directors.
Right.
They come on, yeah.
Right, so. All right.
Okay.
Okay, and then real quick, Jeff, go ahead and pull up the trust. It's just the capital. Yeah, okay, so on the capital fund or the trust fund side, as we talked about in the past, right, our revenue, if you want to consider it revenue, it's actually the membership transfer fees, as we've talked about, flow into equity on the balance sheet, right, because they're an equity line item. They're not really income, right? So what we see here is we saw last month, you see your interest income. And the member interest income, that is for those who have financed their MTF, just so you are aware. I don't know if we've talked about that. And then you will see that on our income statement, we are, running a loss. That is expected, given like we've talked about with the change on maintenance rolling through the trust fund, like the roads and things like that, versus where they were prior, which was in RWC. Okay. And then go ahead and page down, Jeff, on this one, real quick. Keep going down to the equity side. One more up. Perfect. Okay. So there is a lot there in this contributed capital. If you have direct questions on some of those categories, like I said, we can take those offline because we expanded the balance sheet detail. But as we've talked in the past, the one new item, obviously the contract liabilities deposits, that also, the sale of medical building, we've talked about that. And then it will sit on the balance sheet until the deal goes through and we pay it, or they renege and we then take that cash in, right? And then we will post that as income. So it sits there right now because it's a deposit they've made to us. So it's in our bank account and it's on the balance sheet. So. And everything looks great on the trust side. Everything's exactly where it's supposed to be and what we expected.
Any other questions for Todd? Okay, thank you, Todd.
You bet.
We will at those budget hearings.
Yeah.
Now it is time for our general manager's report.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, board and community. So this morning, I wanted to take an opportunity, one, to make an announcement related to the transit survey that is currently available. The deadline to respond to the transit survey is on the 31st, so a few more days left. If you have not responded, please do so. We want to get everybody's feedback on that. It is available both in the Rossmore News, and there is an online version, and it is available, or a QR code available at most of the counters, so for sure here at Gateway. So far, the consultants, Fair and Peers, have received over 1,000 responses, so things are going well in terms of that. But if you have not, please complete that survey as soon as possible. So in my general manager's report this month, I took the opportunity to respond to a resident that submitted a letter and also wrote in the residents forum in the newspaper. I wanted to give some perspective in terms of what they had written about regarding increase in coupon and what they perceived as a reduction in services. So I hope that folks will be able to take a moment and read that article. It is available in the Rossmore News, online, or in the Assembly packet. I'm not going to go through it. It's fairly lengthy, but it kind of details out some of the reasoning and some of the perspectives and accomplishments that actually have taken place. Instead, what I'd like to do this morning is invite everyone to attend our budget workshops that are scheduled for September 8th and 9th, 9 a.m., starting at 9 a.m. in the fireside room. These are the times when the board and the finance committee have the opportunity to review department by department by department every operating fund within the overall RWC operating budget. This is where they are able to really set the level of service that residents can expect. And at the end, it results in an adopted budget at the end of September that sets the RWC portion of the coupon. It is worth noting that last year, as a result of those workshops and the eventual adoption, that the RWC portion of the coupon actually went down in 2026. So we had a reduction of about $4 per manor per month in the RWC portion of the coupon last year. So these are really valuable workshops, because it is really the only opportunity to evaluate, to have the finance committee and the board evaluate the details of the coupon. RWC operates on a nonprofit basis. So literally we have two resources of revenue, either from the monthly coupon for the RWC portion or through fees. And we're going to be discussing fees here later today. Once those fees and coupon are set, that's pretty much it for the year. We have limited ability to adjust mid-year the level of service or programs and services that are offered. So if you have interest in what fees may be, if you have interest in level of service or how a department within RWC is funded, please take the time to attend those workshops. There's a lot of detail that is reviewed, a ton of questions and evaluation by the finance committee and the board, but where everything happens, it is a great opportunity to learn about all of the elements involved in the development of that operating budget. So again, fireside room, September 8th and 9th, starting at 9 a.m. Please attend so you can really learn about how the RWC portion of the coupon is developed. That's it.
Okay, Janet, now we're ready for our member forum.
Okay. Sorry.
We have 4 members who wish to speak today. First is Carl and then Giselle.
My beginning involvement in
Name and address, please.
oh, pardon me, Carl Engdahl, 1550 Stanley Dollar, 1B. My initial interest was in support of the library, and that was when I went to the town hall meeting. And on stage, there were 2 people, Jeff is one, and the statement was made that Rossmore is not a democracy. And this kind of got my attention. Because there was really there was a big response from the overflow audience, but I have not heard much about it since. I think this is a mistake. It may be not in the rules that it's supposed to be a democracy, but there are many ways of representing the point of view of the residents without making it a formal vote. After that, the process of looking at the changes to the Gateway building. Originally, my interest was in the library. Then when the fact was that the whole process didn't seem to get much support, in fact, there was a lot of negativity about making changes to the Gateway Center, it's still on the option list. And I don't understand that. There is no constituency for that move, and in my opinion, should be removed from that list. That's pretty much what I wanted to say.
After Giselle is Barry Bryan.
Giselle Huff, 600 Terra California Drive, number 3. I read with interest in last week's Rossmore's News that the Planning Committee has received 3 options for the Rockview project, ranging in price from $9.1 million to $11 million. To recap, we paid ELS $29,000 to conduct this study, in addition to the $157,000 that we paid originally for the design study that including moving the library. In the article, a resident, Carol Weed, apparently mentioned a presentation made by the Chinese American Association of Rossmore that described a similar project priced at between $1 million and $2 million. David Massington, the representative of ELS, dismissed it as, quote, unrealistic given today's construction climate, close quote. Sorry, and not good enough. This is what happens when no-bid studies. You might be aware of the kerfuffle about the reflecting pond in Washington, D.C. At this point, I urge the board to take part of the $157,000 that has not been spent and get a second opinion.
Barry Bryan, 3874 Terra Granada Drive, 3C. In early responses to our poll on General Manager Jeff Matheson's contract extension, Rossmore residents who do not support a contract extension are more than 10 times greater than those who do. A survey was emailed out on August 16th to 5,500 Rossmore residents. So far, 403 Rossmore residents, or 7.3% of those who received it, have responded to the survey. Final responses will be due September 18th. These emails were primarily obtained from registered voter poll rolls who provided their email addresses. Further, over 90% of the respondents provided reasons for their answer, an extraordinarily high level of engagement. Those unedited reasons were sorted alphabetically by answer and have been shared to the RWC board members and survey respondents. However residents' experiences are obtained, each board member has a fiduciary responsibility to hear the issues and concerns of Rossmore residents. Therefore, RWC board members, please fulfill your responsibility to residents by reviewing the individual comments with the high degree of receptivity they deserve. Your legal board responsibilities include promoting the interests of not just the legal entity GRF, but also of the members. Rossmore deserves and can hire a leader who is good at both. Thank you.
Krista.
Thank you, distinguished board members, and our wonderful secretary, Deborah, for allowing me to speak today. My remarks are a little bit premature, but I'm going to be out of town for your September meeting. So I just did...
Name and address, please.
Oh, Waterford for 1 year now at 1840.
Your name.
Oh, my name, Krista Kell. And I remember both those things, so I'm very proud. Anyway, I was hoping to come to your September meeting when Jeff's contract would be more fully perhaps discussed. But since I'll be out of town, I just wanted you to hear me. I have a master's degree in nursing from UCSF. My specialty was geriatrics and adolescents. You may not be surprised to know how much in common those two groups have. So I looked at some of the criteria, the characteristics, and I started thinking about Jeff's performance. Number one is that both groups want more input, more control, and to be heard. So about several years ago, I formed a kind of ad hoc committee to evaluate Rossmore in terms of its services to disabled residents, both mobility, hearing, and vision. And we came up with several recommendations that Jeff acted on within 10 days. One was to raise the bars in the bathrooms in the fitness center. Another was to recolor any uneven walkways. And then the audio system that now I guess has evolved in the event center. So I thought that was important. And then regarding this darn Rockview thing, as far as I know, he's gone to several meetings, of which I invited him to one, and individual meetings. So I think the whole idea of being heard is something that he often welcomes on even controversial issues. What else? Well, one of the characteristics of both groups, are you ready? They both believe that they know better. And I think we have a community.
I am sorry, that is time.
Oh, anyway, people think they know better, and I've never seen them be defensive to that approach. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. That concludes our member forum for today.
Okay, thank you everyone for your comments. We're now going to move on to our resident member committee reports. From the audit committee, do we have a report from audit committee? I don't see Mary Hurt here. Anything we want to review there? We have an action. Jeff, do you want to make a brief report?
So we did have an audit committee to discuss a very preliminary report from the auditors. We will be reconvening that committee to review the final draft here as soon as we are able to coordinate that, hopefully next week. We do have one action item for you in relation to authorize the engagement letter for the 401k audit, which is attached in your packet.
Board members, any questions on this? No, then...
Seeing no questions, I'd like to move that we approve a capital... Oh, no, I'm sorry,
Nope.
reading the wrong thing here. One of those things. that we authorize the RWC president to sign an engagement letter for the 401K audit with CBIZ.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ted Bentley seconds that. Could we have a roll call, please, Deborah?
Certainly. Hildreth,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Selden,
Yes.
Byram,
Yes.
Amachi,
Yes.
Spence,
Yes.
Ruvalo,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
and Yang.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. And I do see Dan Ring in the audience for the Finance Committee. And then we have a couple of actions.
Good morning. The Finance Committee, we had our meeting on Tuesday, and as Todd already presented the July financial statements of RWC, RPM, and the consolidated financial statements, they were reviewed. The MTFs were discussed. In July 2026, 30 units were sold. That compares to 35 in 2025, generating fees of $540,000. We are now 16 units behind 2025, where we had 233 units sold. This year we have 217, but we are $356,000 ahead due to the increase in the fees. Mr. Matheson presented the proposed 2027 fee schedule and explained that staff annually review fees prior to completion of the draft budget so that anticipated revenues can be incorporated into the budget. A motion was made, seconded, and unanimously approved to recommend to the RWC Board that the Board approve the fee schedule as presented. Ms. Mottola presented and reviewed the proposed pavement maintenance project as part of the RWC Facilities Maintenance Capital Budget. The project includes pavement maintenance work at Leisure Lane in the Hillside Pool parking lot. Ms. Mottola reported that competitive bids were obtained, with Rose Paving submitting the lowest bid at approximately $150,330. A motion was made, second, and unanimously approved to recommend to the Board to approve an expenditure not to exceed $165,000 from the RWC Facility and Maintenance Budget for pavement maintenance projects and authorize the General Manager to execute a contract with Rose Paving LLC for $150,330.38. Ms. Mottola also presented and reviewed the proposed full-depth pavement replacement projects, which are included in the prioritized capital budget. Staff recommended a capital expenditure not to exceed $753,410, including contingency. Ms. Mottola reported that competitive bids were obtained, with Silicon Valley Paving submitting the lowest bid at $684,918. A motion was made, seconded, and unanimously approved to recommend to the Board to approve a capital budget expenditure not to exceed $753,410 for full-depth pavement replacement projects and authorize the General Manager to execute a contract with Silicon Valley Paving for $684,918. Thank you.
Any questions of Dan? Okay, we have two action items. If the board has questions about those, I know Ann was here. There, any questions, board members, on the action items we have in regard to the paving contracts? Oh, yeah, go ahead. Leanne has a clarification.
In the planning committee, you told us, you reiterated the definition of the full pavement versus the
maintenance.
Less destructive.
Yes.
Could you tell the residents that so that they better understand?
Certainly. So the board is being asked to take two actions. And the one of them, which is, okay, so what we're looking at now is the full depth pavement. So what that is, that's like the highly, it goes down, replaces down to the base layer, and it's quite destructive. And so that is the one, that's the higher cost proposal that we're asking for approval for. The other sections, which is just Leisure Lane and Hillside parking lot, That's maintenance, and typically what that involves is just kind of doing the slurry seals, which will extend life. What happens throughout the year is actually a very ongoing inspection that Martin Lemons performs. He surveys the valley on a very regular basis. And what he's doing is he's looking at different road conditions, because there are certain signs of road failure, and there are certain things which he knows if he puts slurry seal on it, he can get more years out of that. And why it's important to kind of have a balance of the maintenance and make sure that we're investing in the maintenance is because the cost of that is so much lower. And if you do that preventative maintenance, what it's doing is preventing everything going to full depth, like just deteriorating to full depth at a faster rate. And usually for every $1 for those maintenance type remedies, you'd have to pay $8 for the full depth replacement. So it's a really great way to maintain and extend our road system.
Okay, seeing no other questions, could we have a motion recommending the approval of the $165,000 contract? Nan?
I move that we approve an expenditure not to exceed $165,000 from the RWC facility and maintenance budget for pavement maintenance projects and authorize the general manager to execute a contract with Rose Paving LLC for $150,330.38.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Well, it was quick. I'm going to say Janet Janet Selden seconded. Could we have a roll call?
Certainly. Hildreth?
Yes.
Bentley?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Amaji?
Yes.
Spence?
Yes.
Ruvalo?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
And Yang?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
And then could we have a motion for the contract with Silicon Valley?
Yeah, I'd like to make that motion. I move that we approve a capital budget expenditure not to exceed $753,410 for full depth pavement replacement projects and authorize the general manager to execute a contract with Silicon Valley Paving for $684,918.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Second. Adrian seconds that. We'll get Sarah next. Thank you. Could we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Hildreth?
Yes.
Bentley?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Amaji?
Yes.
Spence?
Yes.
Ruvalo?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
And Yang?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay, thanks everybody on that. Now, I'd like to just mention that in terms of the Golf Advisory Committee, Chair Burke Ferrari has reported that there were no significant updates from the Golf Advisory Committee meeting held this month. The committee reviewed the golf financials and the meeting minutes are attached to the board packet. So if there are no other questions, we'll move on to our board committee reports. Planning Committee, Janet.
Okay, give me a second here. All right. So yes, we had our regular update on our capital projects, and the new pickleball facility has been pushed now to late September. Other updates included the skylight at the fitness center, our solar projects, the golf course liner, and the technology system, and the transportation study, all of which are moving along. The committee also discussed several options about the Creekside pickleball courts, and we are going to be discussing whether to retain the courts, restore the area as a park or natural space, or develop another recreational use. We did ask the staff to be able to conduct a geotechnical and sound study before further discussions are made. And the existing courts will remain closed after the new facility is opened after 2 weeks. For the Rockview site, we did have a presentation about 3 potential new options: a renovation of the existing building, brand new construction, and modular construction. No option has yet been selected. This is part of the facilities master plan, which does include renovation of the Dollar House and further gateway studies. We have the opportunity to do some updates to the Gateway Clubhouse. And it could include moving some staff out, still getting a new boardroom, and possibly a cafe. Those are just things we've started to discuss. No final decisions have been made. And the final projects that we discussed are the pavement projects, which we just approved today to move forward. And our next meeting of planning will be September 10th, 10 a.m. in the boardroom.
Any questions of Janet? Okay, then let's move ahead to Policy Committee. Nace?
Yes, the Policy Committee met. We had a short meeting. It was primarily on the agenda to clean up some Rossmore Walnut Creek policies, retiring certain existing policies that no longer have application, including a resale community facilities fee, which is no longer relevant, existing policy relating to the medical facilities fee, which is no longer relevant, and we also moved to retire a rule dealing with no smoking in the Lions Point Park, because that property is not owned or maintained by Walnut Creek Mutual any longer. So we passed all three of those motions and are bringing them to the board for a single reading. And that was it.
Any questions of Nace on the policies?
I have a question. Lions Point Park, is that on Golden Rain Road?
Yes.
It's actually owned by the mutual, not by RWC.
Oh,
That's why
I
we
see.
should not have a.
Which mutual is that?
First Walnut Creek.
First Walnut Creek. Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, not seeing any other questions. Could I have a motion to retire existing policy 102.1.2?
I will make that motion. I move to retire the existing policy 102.1.2 resale community facilities fee on the grounds that it is no longer relevant.
I have a second?
Second.
All right, Sarah Smith seconds that. Could we have a roll call vote?
Yes. Hildreth?
Yes.
Bentley?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Hamachi?
Yes.
Spence?
Yes.
Ruvalo?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
And Yang?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. Could we have a motion regarding policy 102.1.3? Sarah?
I'd like to move to that we retire existing policy 102.1.3, the medical facilities fee, since it's no longer relevant.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Leanne seconds that. Thank you, Leanne. Roll call, please.
Yes. Hildreth?
Yes.
Bentley?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Hamachi?
Yes.
Spence?
Yes.
Ruvalo?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
And Yang?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
And finally, could we have a motion on the Lions Point Park? Ted?
I'd like to make a motion that RWC Board retire Rule 116.0 smoking in Lions Point Park, as the rule governs property that is not owned or maintained by the Rossmore Walnut Creek.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Janet Selden seconds. Could we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Hildreth?
Yes.
Bentley?
Yes. Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Selden?
Oh.
Janet.
Janet?
Oh,
Selden.
yes. Sorry, so sorry.
Byram?
Missed out.
Yes.
Hamachi?
Yes.
Thank you. Spence?
Yes.
Ruvalo?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
And Yang?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
I was thinking
Okay.
about those.
Thanks for getting through that work on the policies. I just want to try to check with the board. Do we think we need a break, or would we like to try to take action or talk about the SMART goals? Any sense? Shall we push ahead? Okay.
Sure.
All right. Okay. So SMART goals. I think Jeff, you'll be doing a little discussion about that.
So just to give a quick overview, during your budget retreat, or during your board retreat, back in June, the board discussed a number of items as potential goals, doing some brainstorm sessions. That was followed by a discussion during the open meeting and selection of 3 goals. Those included communication, key performance indicators, and conservation. We then took those goal statements and put them into some SMART goal formats that are attached in your packet. We'll start with 10A-1. This is the SMART goal to expand on the initial work and recommendations from the KPI task force by expanding the scope to other resident-facing services, as well as Rossmore property management, which includes accounting. Objectives include measure the performance and customer satisfaction of key resident-facing programs against board-approved standards. Objective 2, develop KPIs related to the services outlined in the management agreement for the participating mutuals. And then I think that was it.
No, there's a third one regarding transit service.
Yes, in regards to transit service, once the consultant has selected or provided a recommendation, they will also include key performance indicators and KPIs related to the performance of the system.
So I'd just like to make a comment, and then we'll see if there are other questions from the board. I think this is a great move ahead in terms of key performance indicators, and I would just hope that staff or staff who are working on this take a look at what that task force did last year. There's a ton of information there, and I'm sure some of us who served on that task force would be willing to help at any point in time. Any other questions on this?
Are we going to discuss each topic?
I think so.
Okay.
Oh, you mean
Each goal?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought so, okay, then let's move on to
Continuing on to
the next one.
10A-3. This goal is review and enhance communication methods and tools for both the RWC board and administration. Objectives include develop a staff communication action plan to provide step-by-step guide for communication based on the issue, event, or scope of a project. Consider consistency, timing, and tone of delivery and formation of the action plan. Objective 2, conduct a communications-focused community survey. That is already in the works. Enhance board and staff communication with members. And some of the action items include conduct a workshop for the board and staff focused on communication strategies, conduct board-focused town halls designed as listening sessions, develop a monthly article for the Rossmore News as a response and update to comments received during the members' forum portion of board and committee meetings throughout the month.
Yeah. Any questions or comments on that?
I just want to point out that we gave this a lot of thought, and we heard the residents saying that they think communication needs to be improved. This goal is building on communication that we've already, communication patterns and procedures that we've already developed. So we are paying attention to communication, and I just wanted to make that point.
Any other questions?
Okay, so the final one is conservation and stewardship, 10A-5. Explore water-saving strategies, including non-functioning turf removal on the golf course and bordering the sidewalk outside the entry gate. These are really the last two remaining areas to evaluate. Some objectives include evaluate turf reduction options and resulting water savings on the two golf courses and areas immediately outside the entry gate. Evaluate alternatives to select herbicides on the golf course, and expand opportunities with solar initiatives, which is already underway as well.
Any questions on that goal? Excuse me. Yeah, go ahead, Adrian.
On the herbicide thing, it says when completion is expected, summer of '27. Is that completion of the change to our practice, or completion of understanding what we're going to do? It's not clear, that's all.
It would be likely completion of the understanding of what we will do based on results and evaluation of the study.
So then we'll have an action item, presumably in mid next year.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Well, I'm happy with these goals. I think
Well, good, Janet.
we
Would
worked hard on them.
Would you move forward on the goal? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Leanne. Sorry.
I just want to thank staff for starting from the retreat, taking our kind of ambiguous ideas for goals and narrowing it down and creating the SMART goals. And then in addition, taking a good amount of feedback from us to edit those goals. So it was quite a process this year, and I just really want to appreciate the effort that staff put out to do that.
Thank you, Leanne. Adrian, go ahead.
Yeah, following up with what Leanne's saying, particularly around the KPI goals, I feel that these are really important. I'm particularly focused on the KPIs related to the services in the management agreement with the mutuals. I think one of the things that we haven't done in the past is recognize that RWC is a corporation. It provides services to our residents through two channels, through the channel of golf and the event center and all those kinds of recreational services, but also through the fact that we operate an HOA management company, RPM, what used to be MOD. And we've got to do a good job with RPM. It's important that it meet its customers' expectations. And so I'm really glad to see that we're going to focus in on those KPIs and make sure that we are doing the right job for the mutuals. So I'm approving that.
Great.
Okay, could we have a motion to
Yes.
approve these goals
Yeah.
for 2026-27?
Yes, I move that the board approve our 3 SMART goals for our 26-27 board year.
Could we have a second? Oh, Adrian seconds. Okay, thank you, Adrian. All roll call, please.
Yes, Hildreth,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Selden,
Yes.
Byram,
Yes.
Amaji,
Yes.
Spence,
Yes.
Ruvalo,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
and Yang.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay, thank you. Great. Look
Good.
forward to this work on this year. So the second item in unfinished business is clarifying the implementation date for Rule 202, resident and guest rules for access and use of pickleball facilities.
So during your last meeting at the end of July, there was discussion on 2 items that were related to the Creekside pickleball courts. The first item had to do with the consideration of rules for pickleball play, which includes the new facility under construction, as well as the Creekside courts. And the other item had to do with the future plans for the Creekside courts once the new facility is open. During that discussion, there was some questions and responses related to the timing for implementation of the Rule 202.0, which was responded to that they would become effective immediately. The intent was they would become effective immediately upon the opening of the new pickleball facility. If they were put into effect immediately upon adoption, that would impact a number of programs and operations at the current Creekside Courts without the ability of relocating those to the new facility. So there was some confusion about the intent of the board with relation to when Rule R202 would become effective. So we did put that on the agenda for you today to reaffirm when those rules would be effective, which would be once the new facility opens, which is now estimated around the very end of September. Happy to answer any questions.
Board members, questions on just confirming the interpretation of the rule? Nace, did you want to make a comment?
I've got a couple questions. It seems to me that there are benefits in having these rules become effective immediately. Number one, the opening of the dollar courts keep getting pushed back so that we've got more and more time where the Creekside courts will be usable, but without any specific rules relating to that. And I think we ought to have an interim set of rules that apply, even if we're going to suspend playing there after the dollar courts open. The other thing is, in terms of planning, if we implement the rules now, it'll help the pickleball club and its members and other people who use the pickleball facilities plan ahead for how they're going to use these facilities, and also have the rules apply to the Creekside courts, so that in the event that we expand or reposition the Creekside courts usage, next year, we will have several months of experience with the pickleball players using the rules now for Creekside to determine whether, if we do decide to go forward with the Tice Creek, the Creekside courts, whether these rules are doable or whether they need to be changed.
Thank you, Nace. Are you complete on that, Nace? Yes. Okay, Ted, go ahead.
So I understand the thought of where that's coming from, but the second part of the regulations for the Creekside Court in this rule will eliminate club play in there, just about all of it. And it opens it up to open play for everybody. So we would have to change that second section so that the club can continue playing with their same schedule that they have right now and open play at specific times so that that can continue until the new one opens up. I get what you're saying, but that part of the rule, if we apply that right now, courts are open play to everybody in Rossmore right now, and if club play does play, they're only allowed 2 courts to play on for their club play, when always leaving 1 court for open play. So I mean, I think the rule is set up for when the courts open, so for the Creekside courts. So we'll have to redo the Creekside rule if you want to implement it right now to be able to keep play the same way it is right now. And then we might have to change the rule after they open up again to bring it back to what it is on here. So we do have an issue with the second point on Creekside rules. According to what you want to do, you're suggesting. And that's the only thing I'm bringing up.
I don't mind undertaking changing the rules as we need to go moving forward, but to allow this type of activity to continue now at Creekside for several more months with no rules is, I think, challenging. So I would, if Ted, if you're right, and we need to modify the rule as it relates to Tice Creek courts now, I don't mind doing that.
So won't we?
Hold on. Okay, go ahead, Adrian.
But I mean, this is now August 28th. By the time we change the rule back, flip it over again, bring it here, it'll be the end of September. So we'll be, hopefully, dollar will be open by then, and so these will apply. I'm just looking at the logistics of it, as opposed to, I understand what you're driving at, but, and if we could do it like tomorrow, then that'd be right, but we can't.
That's my style.
Yeah. Well, an interim.
I'm sorry, you don't have a gavel.
What about just a short interim rule?
Ted, you wanted to make a comment, and then I'm going to make, just give us some options.
Okay, so the other thing is that they're not really pickleball courts, they're temporary courts, and that's the way they've been operating for all of these years. They are really tennis courts, and they've been under the tennis rules. So this rule would be a brand new rule we're going to implement into it to create it into a pickleball rule. So there is no, it's been operating under this other section for quite a long time. So like Adrian was saying, we're only talking 6 weeks, possibly 7 weeks maybe. And by the time we would sit down to talk about this, we're really talking about the opening date of the new courts, so.
Yeah.
So we understand your suggestion and your thoughts on this, Nace. I think we have two options here. We have a motion that has been proposed to confirm the understanding that this policy would go into effect when the new pickleball center was open. We also could go in the direction of referring this back to the policy committee. So what I would like to do, if possible, is if the board's willing to consider this, take a vote on the motion that was suggested for this, clarifying the implementation date for Rule 202. And then we can see how we might want to, how that fares. Are we willing to do that? Adrian, would you be willing to make a motion on that?
I suppose I might be able to. I move that we clarify the implementation date for Rule R202.0, resident and guest rules of access and use of pickleball facilities, to take place effective that the dollar court, pickleball court, is open. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah.
Facility.
Do we have a second?
I'll second
Okay,
that.
Ted is going to second that. Could we have a roll call, please, Deborah?
Absolutely. Hildreth?
Yes.
Bentley?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Amaji?
Yes.
Spence?
Yes.
Ruvalo?
Abstain.
Warren?
Yes.
And Yang?
No.
The motion carries.
Okay. Thank you all for that good discussion, and I really want to thank Nace for bringing up those topics. They're very important, and we respect your point of view on that. So I think what I'm going to do now is call a break for, I would say, 5 to 7 minutes, would be 10:25, right? Yeah? And then we'll start with our fee review and new business. Thank you. Okay, we'll get started again, and we're going to be looking under new business at the RWC fee review. Jeff, did you want to introduce this?
Yeah, just to give a little introduction to start, I want to begin the presentation with a review of policy 102.1.1, which is included in your packet under attachment 11A-1. This is a policy that addresses user fees and service charges, and the purpose is to establish a policy to govern and guide decisions concerning cost support of community facilities and services. This is a policy that was first adopted in 1996, so it has been around for a while. But what the purpose is, it says Rossmore has a long tradition of policies and practices supporting the shared cost concept, which is enumerated in the trust agreement. By spreading the cost of operations over the entire membership, the community is able to support a great array of facilities and services which are integral to residential retirement community living. At the same time, there are circumstances when shared support of some activities may not be appropriate. The principle underlining the shared cost concept is that the services of facilities is available, underlined, to all residents on an equal basis, and that the particular activity or improvement benefits the community at large. When the entire community may not benefit, it is not appropriate that the cost be spread over the entire membership. When recovery of cost is not shared by equal assessments of the membership, it is termed a non-shared cost, and the recovery by either cost is recovered by either user fees or service charges. The objective of these charges at a minimum is to recover the cost attributed to the activity or service being provided. So it goes on, I won't read the rest, but I wanted to give that little overview to set the context of your discussion regarding fees. Today we'll be introducing, and previously we talked about some fees associated with specialty classes at the fitness center, and where those fees fall under either the shared cost model or as a specific benefit to those that are taking the class and thus recovered through service charges. Regardless, there are only two real opportunities for funding all of the programs, and that is through the shared cost model and the coupon, or through direct user fees. We don't have any other mechanism for recovering the cost of the programs and services because we operate on a nonprofit basis. So they either come from the coupon or from fees. So just as we start to go through the fee presentation today, and each department will be coming up and reviewing what fees are associated with their department. We'll begin with public safety. Just ask that you keep in mind policy 102.1.1 as it relates to the shared cost or to the direct benefit to a specific member or user group. There certainly can be arguments made in either direction, because just by fact that we have these classes and programs and services is a benefit to the entire community, because we are able to promote that we have 180 plus clubs. We have a robust fitness center with all of these programs and services available to members. We can promote that, and thus it is a benefit to the entire community. You can also make a very strong argument that should the entire community, through their coupon assessments, pay for things like a specific group to rent a room and have a AV setup, or for a group or individual to take a specific class that then only benefits that member. You can make a very good argument in either direction. So the policy was intended to try and give you guidance as you consider that. But at this point, we will go into your fee presentation, and we'll begin with Tom Cashon in public safety.
Good morning, board. Tom Cashon, your public safety director. Can someone move the slide? Oh. All right, here we go. So for public safety, the rate increases for 2027 that I'm proposing is our golf cart permit goes from $15 to $20. Sponsored guests An RFID is going to go from $25 to $30. And our RWC RPM contractors and realtors RFIDs are going to go $35 to $40. So essentially $5 for each. Part of this exercise that we do every year is we look at other communities, and this is in line with other communities and what they charge for their RFID program and other access charges. Do you have any questions?
Just a quick question. I understand why you're suggesting these increases, Tom. Do you see that kind of increase happening on an annual basis?
No, I don't. Just like last year, if you guys remember, that was here, there were several from public safety because they had not been adjusted for a very long time. RFIDs are expensive. They go up in cost, and those were some of the driving factors to make those changes last year. The ones we made last year, we pretty much didn't touch this year except for the golf cart permit.
Thank you. Oh, Ted, go ahead, sorry. Raise your hand.
I did. Oh, I got to go. Just a related question to golf carts. The fees, I don't see an issue in at all, but when they do give a golf cart sticker on the back, is there any kind of an inspection on the golf cart? Such as do they have brake lights? Do they have, because they are operated on the street. The reason I'm bringing that up is we have a lot of carts here who do not have any safety features on them at all, and they're operating on the street. And I just don't know if that is something that we should add to part of this when they get their license to have them inspected. So.
Yeah, no, we don't do any inspection of that. And then the other thing is, because we are a golf community, the law allows golf carts that don't exceed 15 miles an hour to drive on our roads without having any brake lights and stuff like that. So that would be a very big or longer discussion that we'd have to go about to see if there's a way we could regulate the other ones that do go over 15 miles an hour. But that would be obviously down the road, we'd have to do that.
Okay.
Another quick question. Sorry, Tom. If it was noticed that a golf cart doesn't have an RFID tag, is it followed up with?
It's not an RFID tag, actually. It's a golf cart permit. It's located on the back of the golf cart. Yes, so both the the golf shop is one that also checks. The marshals check to make sure that they have them affixed. If Securitas also sees one without having it, they do inform the resident that they need to go pick them up. And then we also run ads, thanks to Ann. Every few months, we run an ad in the newspaper reminding people, a story, not an ad, about the requirement that they all have to have. If you have a golf cart, if anybody's listening, if you have a golf cart in Rossmore, it has to have that permit. It has to be registered. Doesn't matter if it's only being used on the golf course or even if you don't use it on the golf course. It's on any of GRF or RWC property. You have to have that permit on that golf cart.
Okay, now we're ready for recreation.
Don't panic, anyone. What we wanted to do, starting with reservations, is just go through the fee schedule and to make sure messaging is really clear, because we are talking about fees, but there are no changes, no increases proposed for this year. But we thought it was worth going through this. It's a pretty significant revenue center. It's about $230,000 annually in revenues. And we just wanted to also show the schedule because there is a differentiation between the private rates and the club rates, and there's still some confusion about that. So in the fee schedule and the way this is pretty much cut and paste from the fee schedule that you can find online. It starts with the private resident rates. And for the smaller rooms, some of them moved into the no fee, no service. So we do have residents that do have access to certain smaller size rooms at no cost. And then the medium and mid-size have flat rates attached to them, and you can see them here. As we get into the larger rooms, we have fees a little bit differently. And so there's a minimum 2 hours, and a lot of it is because of the amount of time it takes, to turn over. There's actually a minimum of revenue that we get with the 2-hour block minimum. And then as you ask for additional hours, there are blocks that give you some discounted rates. And again, these are if you're a private resident only. And the outdoor spaces also have that similar block rate that the largest spaces have. Our picnic sites are a bargain at $25 per use. And again, there's no changes to those. And then just a reminder to people, I think this all went into effect last year. We identified several spaces that are community rooms, which means they're not reservable. They're open for anyone, that they're shared spaces, and we do have those at the Echo Room, the Redwood Room, and the Fireside Lobby. As I mentioned in the first slide, we have a number of no-fee, no-service rooms. Many of these are located at dollar, and they're highly used. That was a really great addition and has helped clubs manage their budget in the last year. And then I wanted to point out, we do have different fees that are attached. If you're a private rental, you pay these fees. If you're a club, this is all that you pay for use of the rooms. And unique to clubs, in the little box to the right, it talks about the plug and play, which is something that we introduced, which has been really a great way for clubs who are kind of our high media users to kind of reduce the cost to use rooms. We went and trained all the clubs in how to use their devices to plug into our sound system. So if they have an audio device or a laptop, they can plug into our preset system. And that's also alleviated the need for our staff to kind of go staff it. So it's been a really great win-win all around. Okay, so let's talk about golf.
I got a quick question
Absolutely.
on the room reservations. Just so that our audience or folks listening might understand this. So if you're doing a private reservation, there are certain conditions when you have to provide a security deposit, and then also you have to provide insurance for private reservations. Is that correct?
For private, yes. Yes, and so in this slide, you'll see that there is a deposit. So we do have a $500 refundable cleaning and damage deposit. That applies to the private rentals. With clubs, when they sign their use agreement, if there's damage, they would be responsible for up to that amount, but we don't collect that in advance from clubs. And then the clubs are covered by their club insurance. But for private rentals, we have options where they can either use homeowners or we have a exchange where they can purchase event insurance.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on to golf. So this represents many, like the green fees, and at the bottom you'll see the golf cart rental fees. And so we're not proposing any changes to these. What we did want to look at is the driving range fees. And so one of the things that, Jackie's not here anymore. One of the things that Jackie did for us was she reached out to a number of different clubs around us to take a look and see for the driving range, what were they charging for, a bucket of 15, 30, and 60 balls or something comparable to that. You can see the clubs will have them in different increments. And one of the reasons this kind of stood out, like we kind of should look at this and look at the fee for this, is we know when you go through the budget hearing, you're going to see this line item about replacing like the mats and the ball pick or the driving range. It's really popular. It has a lot of use, and it actually has lots of kind of expendable items that are attached to that. So really understanding and it was a way to make sure that we're competitive with the market. There should be a direct service improvement, with the fees, with being able to keep our amenity in top condition. And so the proposal is to increase each of the buckets by $1, and that would yield about just under an $18,000 increase in revenue. Any other questions on golf? Right, so the next is our RV lot. And so we pretty much just have 2 spaces. We have covered and uncovered parking. We don't really differentiate by size. When you look at our competitors, And those would be ones that have just the storage space, none of the amenities. So it doesn't have, we're not looking for anyone that has, sewage or any of that type of stuff. When you just look at the storage facilities, we wanted to benchmark them because we really haven't done anything since we first, put this, when we first looked at this fee in 2024. We did some estimates. There's only one other entity that has the covered parking, and that's in San Leandro. And so their covered parking is $1,776. And then the averages of the uncovered is $2,205. And so we were taking a look at that and wanted to make some market adjustments and be very reasonable. So we're only proposing a 5% increase, and that would change the covered parking from 1,000 to 1,050, the uncovered from 500 to 525, and that would generate an additional 3,300 in revenue.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why is uncovered more?
That's an average from,
I mean, why?
You know what? It's
Covered
because
sounds like a better deal.
it's
but-
just because there's not that many places that provide the covered that have no amenities. So there were no data points to compare it to. There was only one other.
Roy, did you have a question?
I'm sorry. On this particular fee, I have some concern. I think we compare apple and oranges. Because for commercial RV park and parking, and each park should have a 150 amp power supply. They also have a dump water site. They also have a bathroom or restroom there. And we don't have any of those. So you compare, some people are charging more, yeah, but they have to pay more to get something. We don't. We're just a parking lot. And so I think when you compare, you probably want to list it out what are the other side being provided services.
Just to clarify, these were compared with entities that don't have those services.
Any other questions on the RV? Now, I'm assuming we'll approve these in total, or?
Yes.
Okay, all right, or we could, if someone has a concern, maybe something would be, please go ahead.
So the next fees that I want to talk about are fitness and aquatics. And so this represents our fees right now for the fitness center, which is the dominating fees are for personal training, and it's quite a significant revenue center. Our target has been $325,000 for the last 2 years. We only met 295 last year. We're kind of projecting between 285 and 290 this year, and I'll get back to that in a second. But I just want you to keep that in mind. But we don't have any changes proposed for the current fees that are on the books right now. What we did want to do is talk about specialty classes. And so this conversation started, I think, a couple of meetings ago when it was reported from the Aquatics and Fitness Committee that there was a proposal to charge for specialty classes. And so there was a subcommittee that was created that created a recommendation to the board, and I think that was presented. And the board asked for clarification about specialty classes. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what those are. So when you have a certified personal trainers that are teaching our, the 55 classes that are free that you can just get as part of membership, as a personal trainer, they have a certain certification. To teach any specific classes, there are certain additional certifications, additional trainings that are required. And those are what we're defining as specialty classes. So it would require the instructor to have class-specific training. There could be unique equipment, experience, certification, and/or a specialized license. And additionally, if you look at that bottom, there are also certain classes which are license-based, and they specifically require the instructor to obtain and maintain a branded license to teach. And we have a couple of those that happen in our center. Like 2 of the more popular ones are UJAM and Zumba. Body Pump is also licensed. So those would be the definitions of specialty classes. And we wanted to give some background information to have this conversation. And so we looked at a few comparators to frame the discussion about fees and the value. And also, the value of the monthly coupon, if you will. So the first comparator that we wanted to look at was kind of what like communities are doing with how much they're charging for access to fitness centers in their community and any other additional fees for classes. And so when we reached out and actually had conversations with these 4 different communities, 2 of them are California-based, 2 of them are not. And also we wanted to know not only like what are you charging for classes, but how many free classes do you have that your community has access to? And, we were pretty pleased. We were pretty pleased with our team when we saw what the comparison was, that just for the cost of the coupon, and just to remind everybody, your monthly coupon per household is $13.15 for the fitness center. And for that, you have access to all of our beautiful equipment that we really go to great lengths to keep, in very good condition, as well as those 55 free classes. Now, there's also the specialized classes. Those aren't counted into the 55. Historically, and I've said this before, it's a little bit of a messy history. At times there were fees, there were no fees. And it just became kind of a talk point again. When we lost some instructors, we needed to hire them back, but we know how we're doing with budget, and so we were really concerned about the differentiation. And looking back historically where we could charge fees, we thought we should. But if you look at, there was a range, even it was arbitrary. And we think having a more consistent program might be something where we could have some cost efficiencies. As another comparator, what we wanted to do is to take a look at the studios that have very specific focuses. So you'll see, the bar method where they focus, guess what, on bar and core conditioning, or some of the one like the yoga studios. And we wanted to see what happens if you go to a place like that and what their fee structure was. And I think you can see that the single class fees are pretty extraordinary. I think the cheapest you could get on one of these, if you bought a discounted rate, it might drop as low as $20 a class, but they could go as high as $35 a class. So then we thought maybe that's not a good comparison. Maybe we need to look at fitness centers, fitness clubs, where it's an all-inclusive price and you have access to some of those specialized classes that we're proposing a fee for. And so here are some very local, 3 from Walnut Creek and others, Concord, San Ramon, and Pleasanton. We're looking at the same disciplines offered. I will just make a note that anybody that says Pilates Reformer does have an upcharge for that. It's very specialized because they're smaller groups and it's a very technical piece of equipment that has special maintenance needs. All the other classes that are listed there are included, but as you can see, the monthly fees are significantly higher than our $13.15 a month. Okay. And we know we are not trying to we're not trying to raise rates or be anything competitive. We're just kind of show what the value is of these types of programs outside of our community.
Ted has a question.
Okay.
On that last slide, they pay, just so let's say Forma Gym, 142, 149.
Yeah.
They can go to any of those classes then after they pay that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Adrian.
Yeah, so I could go to City Sports Club and do aqua aerobics. I don't know if that's like the aqua we have here. But anyway, all I'm trying to point out is that if we were charging $3 a class and you took 3 classes a week, that'd be $9, it'd be $36, $40 a month. So it's not perhaps that much different than some of these.
Correct. Like if you did as I guess we would call ours a la carte, right? So if you're paying for the class.
Yeah.
It would possibly add up to the lower end
Yes.
of what's
yes.
here.
Yeah.
Much lower. Any other questions? Okay.
I was just going to show one slide because I believe a question came up where the original recommendation may have been $5 per class from the committee. When staff was looking at it against what our revenue projections have been, we kind of have this $40,000 shortfall that we're projecting again this year. And so we made a conservative estimate that at a minimum enrollment of 15, attendance of 15 per class with the $3 fee, we'd come very close. And many of the classes exceed that 15 enrollment. So we wanted to be conservative in moving forward a proposal and a recommendation for a fee.
I think Leanne has a question, Ann.
Yes, so the 40,000 in reduced revenue, I'm a little confused about that. So I'm assuming, I don't have that much detail on our RWC budget versus actual reports. So I'm assuming that 40,000 is coming out of, you're comparing salary to revenue? Is that what that is? Like, where is that 40,000 shown on or how could someone find that on a budget report?
Well, I mean, so I think you're going to see the detailed reports at the budget hearings. You'd have to ask Todd where he's posting them right now.
So right now, within fitness budget, we have just a general revenue category that kind of captures personal training and class fees, small group training, and so forth. So that's the revenue that has a bit of a shortfall. What is being proposed here is based on a minimum enrollment, and we also know that some classes will have fewer, some will have more, but in general, that revenue will offset the cost of either our staff time, existing staff time, or the cost of bringing in a specific instructor that teaches just that specific class. So it could be our existing instructor, or we bring in somebody. The cost to offer that is about $60, not including all the other costs that are associated, but just the instructor physical cost during the time they're teaching that class is what we're trying to offset.
Okay. That's what I was looking for, because throughout this whole discussion about aquatics and fitness, we've never heard the justification for the increase or the justification for reducing the $5 to $3. So I understand that, and I figured that's what it was. But in the future, I think that needs to be explained in a clearer way, because it just doesn't, I don't know, there just wasn't any justification.
I will say we did do that in committee, and I think when it was reported out, I was not here, so I don't think I added any more background information to that than what was reported out. But it was presented to the committee.
Nace, and then I have a question too. Go ahead, Nace.
It seems to me this is a very dense amount of information here, not only as it relates to individual classes, but also many of the other facility options. But what comes to mind is that there were a lot of residents who have commented, written us, attended the member forums, who had something to say about the class fees that were being charged, whether it was $3 or $5 or whatever it was. My question, though, is have we given the community, including these people that I've mentioned, an opportunity to digest this information and respond to it if they wanted to before we submit it for passage?
So I would say our method of communications certainly is through the Aquatic and Fitness Advisory Committee and their discussions, as well as with the subcommittee that was formed. This information is widely known now by the participants in the classes in terms of what is under consideration from both last month's discussion as well as this month's ongoing discussion. So I would say the information is widely known. Have we sought input specifically of do you support or do you not support? We have not done that.
And if I could add, and then the one continuing engagement, if you will, were from Deepwater Aerobics, which is why the committee recommended this $3 fee with the exception of the Deepwater Aerobics.
So I'll give you a chance next, Jen. I understand why you're proposing this, and I would support the $3 fee. The concern I have is I want to understand the specialty classes, because the fees, well, what I'm hoping is the fees are aligned or determined on the nature of the class, not who is doing the training. Because I know in some cases our full-time employees are doing the training in specialty classes. So my concern is that the fees are aligned with the nature of the class, not who is teaching the class.
That's exactly why the definitions were made, because there was even confusion in the committee, and then there was a subcommittee. So they did some really good work and presented a lot of the, the concerns, the questions, in order to get something. So it's really clear. If you're looking at, it requires that specialized certification, other than what a certified personal trainer can teach. That's fine. And I will also say that the committee has, the subcommittee, committed to doing some work to make sure that we have to improve our communication of the classes, of the structure, of what's required of the instructor, and really what are the prerequisites, if you will, of the person attending the class, and that will become an education over time. If this was to be implemented in January, we have time to roll out that education piece.
I just wanted to say, as the liaison from the board to that committee, and I was on the subcommittee, I think, Nace, a lot of people came to those aquatics committee meetings and were heard, and the committee certainly understood the financial impact, but also the impact on our budget. So given the balance, given the fact that we were able to move it from $5 a class to $3 a class, we had pretty much unanimous approval on that recommendation.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead, Ted. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You're not looking down at this way.
I got to look over there. Sorry.
Okay, so when this first came out, staff recommended $5 for it. And then it went to aquatics, and aquatics said, oh no, we'll agree to $3. My question is, whenever we've done this in any other committee, that goes to finance, because finance committee is the one who really looks and does the deep dive. And I don't sure if this has ever gone to finance to look at and say, this is the number we need to do to make it, to get the right number. So that's where I have a loss here, and I could be wrong about that. But
so we did present the fee schedule that's in front of you on Tuesday to finance, and they reviewed that and did recommend the fees as proposed.
Okay. Any other questions on the variety of fees that Ann is responsible for?
It's a buffet.
Okay, then we'll move on to the other, who's presenting. Oh, Jeroen is presenting on some of these other fees. Thank you.
Okay, let's hit the next slide. Good morning, everyone. I'm here to talk to you about 3 separate sets of fees. The first slide that you're looking at right now, actually 4 sets. The first slide that you're looking at right now primarily deals with the contractor yard that we lease up at the RPM 800 Rockview spot. I am proposing to keep their fees flat from 2026 to 2027. In 2025, we were at the $49,735 that you see there. That was a 5% increase from $49,000 to $52,000. In 2024, we were at $39,735. That was a 10% increase from 24 to 25. And then in 23, we're at $29,800. That was actually a 43% increase total over the past 3 years that we've done to the contractor's yard. So I just really believe that we should keep it flat for 2027. Is there any question? Oh, and the handyman, we propose to keep flat at the $300 per year rate. Questions on that? Excellent, thank you. And then the next we would like to look at is our member records. So I would like to propose a 10% increase to member records fees for 2027. We did keep those fees flat in 2026 from the 2025. So we will have an increased revenue of about $50,000 in our member records fees this year, and those fees go directly to offsetting the RPM coupon costs.
Nan, go ahead.
So I have a question about the FHA-VA certification, which apparently we don't need to do anymore because they're not going to certify us for anything. So I'm wondering if maybe we need to remove that one.
We can definitely look into that, Nan, and if it is no longer applicable, we will remove it. I'll make a note of that right now.
Thanks.
Jeroen, I support these increases, but do you see this as something that you would, on an annual basis, or are you going to look at this every year?
We look at it every year, and what I really believe is that we should look to probably get a 5% annually. That's why when we stay flat one year, we ask for a 10% the next year. It really is right along with CPI and cost increases.
And just, I'll call on you in a minute, Adrian. Just in terms of CPI, I just want to remind everyone that what we're going to see as we look at our budget for next year is a 3.8 COLA that's going to be applied to our staff. So I just want us to remind that that's a built-in increase there. Adrian?
The thing about these fees are that they are incurred every time a unit is sold, correct? Or bought?
Sold, bought, leased,
Yeah.
transferred, yes, all of those transactions, correct.
And we've seen a drop in the number of sales, so that's going to decrease your revenue.
It does. We base the budgeted revenue off of the 375 budgeted sales that we were going to do in the year. So we definitely base this budgeted revenue off of what our budgeted sales are.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go on to alterations.
Okay, great. It's pretty much the same story. We'd like to look for a 10% increase into the alterations fees. In 2026, we were at $533,500. So a 10% increase to that gets us at approximately $585,000, which is also an approximate $50,000 increase to revenues that offset the RPM operating costs. So in 2024, we were at $485,000. We asked for a 10% increase there. We were flat in 26 and looking for that 10% increase in 27.
Questions? Okay, go ahead.
So how do you come up with these fees? I mean, are they based on?
The fees are based on what it takes to provide the services, right? So member records fees is 100% based on what the actual expenses are on the labor to do the work, right? Plus, we need a little bit more to offset the RPM coupon. So that's how we think about those dollars.
Okay, any other questions? Then I think we're moving on to Ann.
Excellent. Thank you, Board.
Thank you, Jeroen.
Thank you.
This is talking about a lot of information.
Really.
Okay, so first up, we have subscriptions. All of the residents here in Rossmore have their newspaper included as part of their coupon. So when we're talking about subscriptions, we're actually talking about prospective residents and business owners who are subscribing to a paper that we mail to them. We used to mail papers bulk rate, but Walnut Creek actually shut down their bulk mailing, so everything now has to go first class.
Wow.
Which is why this is so expensive. So a couple years ago, we actually saw our subscriptions go down quite a bit, but believe it or not, there are still people who want to pay $185 Now it's going to be $233 to have the paper mailed to them. So we do still have a small number, but what you're seeing for increases from 12 to 15%, that is for the folks who are subscribing to have it mailed. And what we're doing, that $4.55 estimate that will go up in 2027, that is strictly just what we're charging is just to mail the paper. We're actually not charging them for the paper itself. Classifieds, this is actually the one that our residents use the most, is the classified ads. So I don't usually take it out on our residents. I tend to take it out on the other advertisers, and I tend to keep the classifieds flat as long as we possibly can. We did go up in classifieds in 2025. I'm not proposing an increase in 2027, largely because right now our market just can't sustain this. We are seeing a slight drop in classified ads with our non-residents, not so much our residents, but our non-residents, which is telling me that right now we need to be really careful. Same goes with legals. Surprisingly, this is one that we have owned for quite some time. I set our rates based on what the rest of Contra Costa is doing. I check these on a quarterly basis, and whatever Contra Costa is doing, I set ours just below. So the Martinez News Gazette, which went out of business a little while ago, once they did, we own the market. Wouldn't you know it, they came back in business 6 months ago. And they went and undercut us on fictitious business. So I had to bring our costs, which have been at $55, I now have to stay at $55, and they're at $50. The only reason we're still able to stay in the business is because we're doing some Google advertising in order to kind of stay above them. But that's one we may actually have to drop down to 50 in 2027 just to stay in that market. So right now we are going to have to keep pretty flat, but I will continue to look at these on a quarterly basis and adjust based on how the market's doing.
Is there any questions there? My question is, you sure you don't want to drop to 50 this year?
I'm sure. Not yet. If I do see a big drop off, then we will do that, yes. Can you go back for me? Thank you. Okay, so display ads. This is the one where we make most of our money. $825,000 of our revenue comes from display ads. The last time that we had a rate increase was June of 2025. We were scheduled to go up in June of 2027, and then the market started to bottom out. We have actually lost about 5% of our advertisers this year, which tells me we cannot go up, which is also unfortunate because our printing press did increase our rates by 8%. So the way that we handled our press increase is we have reduced our page count by 4 pages. So far that's worked. We are, again, kind of holding steady right now. Thank goodness our club reps have figured out how to write about 100 words less per article. But this is one that we are, again, going to have to sort of monitor. So next year, if we do end up with another printing press increase, we won't have a choice. We will have to raise the rates on our advertisers. But that is something that we are going to discuss with them this year so that they know that it could potentially be coming. We try to, again, put that in front of them so they know what we could be facing. The hope, especially with the real estate market, is that things will turn around next year so that when we get to June, if we do have to increase rates, hopefully the market will be better and we can adjust to that. Usually when we increase, it's 50 cents per inch, so it's not a huge increase and they can bear it. But again, right now, we just can't go up. Leanne, did you have a question?
So did I hear you say that advertisements were down?
We've lost 5% of our advertisers in the second half of this year. What's that?
What do you attribute that to?
It's the market. So where we're seeing the dip right now is contractors. We're losing some of our contractor advertisers. It's because, again, they're just not getting as much business. Not as many of our residents are doing the home improvement projects. We've had 3 of our advertisers go out of business. Some of the smaller advertisers that are like in the shopping center, they just aren't getting as much business. When you have to make a decision as to where you're going to put your money, advertising is the easy thing to cut. Where we can, the other problem that we're having, like for example, we just sold the All Around Rossmore magazine. Last year, we sold that out in a week. This year, we have 4 ads that did not sell, so we have house ads instead. That I thought was unheard of. What we're now finding is because we have so many different ad opportunities, we have the magazine, special sections, buses, newspaper. What's happening is they're making choices. So when we rolled out My Rossmore and Rossmore.com, that was the shiny new object. Everybody wanted to do that. But now when I come around with All Around Rossmore, they're like, I'm on the website, I can't afford to do the magazine too. So now we have to balance that in as well. So one of the things we're gonna do in November is put together a whole new ad packet that says these are all the different advertising opportunities. These are who you get marketed to in each one of those categories. This is what the rate's gonna be. And hopefully when they look at that, they can budget their money accordingly for the year. And that's another reason for trying to stay steady with those rates for 2027. So digital ads, again, this is kind of our new territory. I was hoping to go a little higher with Rossmore.com, but we could not do that. The realtors just don't have the money to spend. So what we did as a trial basis for 6 months, we have what's called partner spots. Those are the 3 advertisers you see on our homepage for Rossmore.com, which are the big 3. Rossmore Realty, Berkshire, and Remax. They're paying $500 a month to be on the homepage. Then we have our real estate broker page. We have 1 extra broker who's paying $300 a month. And then our real estate agent page is $100. We do cap those. If you just sell everybody and their mother, then there's no value behind those pages. So we don't sell more than 28 of the real estate pages, and right now we have sold out for Rossmore.com. And that was bringing in for 6 months a little over $27,500. We're going to continue to do this into 2027 and hope that it continues to be successful. We are monitoring the traffic and how much success each of the real estate agents are having on this. If this continues to do well or does better than we hope, we will adjust the prices up accordingly. So hopefully the rates can go higher, but right now, this is actually what it's worth. And then over on My Rossmore, the alterations page is our most successful. That has a waiting list. So we're at $300 each for the ad, which is about where our contractors can pay. But I'm hoping that, again, things turn around next year. If it does, I will increase that to $400. All of the other pages just have 1 ad each. We sell those at $400. Right now, I do have 6 pages with open ads. Again, it's just the market's really tough to be able to sell these. The other places that we have ads, we do inserts, not a lot of them. It's tough for people to be able to do inserts because of the cost for those, but we did find a way to kind of bring down our cost point. We encourage a lot of our folks who advertise with inserts to use our printing press at Wesco. If they do that, then we only have to pay Wesco $85 to put it in the paper. So it ends up being a better profit margin for us. The bus ads are $1,800 to $3,000 a year, but obviously with the transit study, we recognize that there's a good possibility we won't have buses to be selling ads on. So I'm proposing no increase for that since there's so much uncertainty around the buses. And then all around Rossmore ranges from $620 to $1,380. We did increase our rates last year 8% because of the printing costs. We had to do that because, again, it is so expensive to print that magazine, and I do need to keep that one in line with the printing costs. And 2027 likely will have to go up again if the printing costs go up. And then the last thing is this is just to kind of show you where we are in line with the other advertisers in the area. So we are still pretty affordable when you consider everybody else in town. We do that by design. We want to be sure that we own our market where our advertisers are concerned, but at the same time, it doesn't really make a difference. If they don't have the money, they're just not going to advertise. So you want to hit that sweet spot. You want to make sure you keep your advertisers. If you increase too much and they go away, then the increase did you no good. You want to be sure that what you're selling the ad for will keep them where they are. And again, we've done a pretty good job of that. We are right now on track. Our budget is $835,000. We're on track right now to make $838,000. So we seem to have done it pretty well considering we've lost 5% of our advertisers. We got lucky. Any questions?
Questions for Ann? Okay, thank you.
Lot of
go
good
ahead,
info.
Nay, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, where are we in the discussions with the residents about whether to discontinue the printing?
My favorite question.
I know.
So every meeting I go to, every presentation I go to, every time I meet a new resident, I'm immediately asked if I'm going to take away their print paper. Immediately. So here's my answer. I plan to be the last newspaper printed in California, and I'm not joking about that. The reason is that $835,000 that we're making in display advertising is largely because of print. A few years ago, when I was brought on board to move us into the digital age. And we've done that. We have, look what we've got with Rossmore.com, with My Rossmore. Right now, we're trying to find a new vendor to do the e-edition for Rossmore News, because I'm not really happy with our e-edition.
Good.
And we're planning to, because Javier is so good at it, we're planning to redo Rossmore News' website. We're in the digital space. We recognize that there's a lot of residents coming in that are in the digital space, but the money is still in the print side. So what we did is we ramped up the print side so we could build the digital side. And our plan is still to do that. We're gonna maximize and take as much money out of the print side and put it into the digital side. If you do that, then I don't have to put the money into the coupon, right, to build up the websites. When the presses in California or Nevada shut down and we can no longer print a paper, we will have the website infrastructure that we need to continue in that digital space. But yes, my game plan is to be the last one in the last paper in California printing. And it's also worth noting, I've now had about 20 residents say, can't we just buy a printing press? So just be on the lookout. When the presses go down, the board is going to get emails asking if we can buy a press.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Ann.
The newspaper club.
Yeah. Okay, and our final amenity usage fee.
You just roll that one to the next. So for the amenity usage fee, we do have a formula that drives that fee. This is the fee that a lessee pays for use and access to the amenities offered. The formula reflects the impact of use on amenities, programs, and services. It is calculated taking the monthly RWC coupon minus the Comcast fee and dividing that by 2. That gives you the final fee. Right now, we're looking at probably a fee in the range of $150 per lessee per month, but we'll determine that once the final coupon is set in the end of September meeting.
What is it now?
It's around 145-ish.
Okay, so it's only about a $5 increase.
Yes.
This is a question about where the revenue from this fee goes. At the moment, we're still putting it into the operating budget. Is that not correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And we have discussed about actually making it part of the capital budget because of, in some ways, it is part of the MTF.
So right now, it is not associated with the MTF because the owner of the unit, when they purchase, they still pay the membership transfer fee. This is really pegged on the coupon based on the theory that the owner that is leasing their unit can still use the amenities, plus the new folks that are renting can use the amenities, attend the programs, and receive the services. So it's really pegged to what that monthly coupon would be.
Right. So in effect, though, we're double charging the coupon to a lessee.
Not really, because again, the owner still has the right to access the community and use the amenities.
Oh, yeah, but I'm saying, but we are getting the revenue from the coupon for that unit, and we're also getting this fee.
Right, because you're doubling the number of people that can access the amenities.
Amenities.
Yeah. So the only reason I'm bringing this up is that it's a bit of a question in the Finance Committee about whether the money from this should be put to the MTF fee where we're collecting that. Because if we move to a more rental-oriented community than we are, then our MTF fees will continue to drop because a corporate entity will buy a building, it'll keep it for a long time, and it will just rent it out. And so we won't get the MTF fees. And so there's some discussion in the Finance Committee about, do we want to take this money and put it towards the capital side of the budget or not?
I'd like to make a comment about that.
Go ahead, Janet.
Since we're already, since we're already have an increase in the MTF, the actual money coming in versus last year, I'd rather see it help keep the coupon lower for the rest of us, frankly. That's my preference.
I think we could keep tabs on the number of rentals and when we reach that tipping point too, you know.
We have asked that the number of rentals be included in the MTF report so that we understand that. But you know, I mean, we used to be in a situation where all the mutuals said no rentals, essentially. Then the legislature changed the rules, and we can't impose that kind of a restriction anymore. And so we now have a restriction about 20% of the units being rentals. And I think we're starting to approach that in some cases. So it's something we've just got to keep track of as a board.
Any other questions or comments? I would like to just clarify, Jeff, is there action we need to take on this today, or do we take action as part of the budget process?
So you can take action as part of the budget process. We would kind of like some direction, though, because we would build this additional anticipated revenue into the coupon, the draft budget, for your consideration. So if we can at least get a indication of where you would like to go with these, that would be helpful.
So like a straw vote?
Yeah, that would be good.
I'm happy to do that. I think because there's a wide variety of fees that maybe not everyone would agree with each one, and I don't want to take separate votes, but why don't we just try to do a straw poll of who, of our willingness to support most of these fee proposals as we move into the budget process? Is that okay? And a
Yeah.
straw poll, do we raise hands? What do we do? Just, okay. Could we raise hands on who wants to at least move positively forward with these fee recommendations? Okay. I think we have everybody. So that's a unanimous straw poll on that.
Thank you.
That helps the process. Okay, we have one last item to take care of, and I think I'm going to refer to Deborah on that item.
Yes, so as part of a comprehensive review of the corporation's governing documents, staff conducted an extensive search of the historical corporate records to verify the adoption history of the Golden Rain Foundation of Walnut Creek bylaws. The review identified board meeting minutes documenting the original adoption of the bylaws and subsequent amendments. However, the specific versions of the bylaws approved at those meetings were not attached to the minutes or otherwise identified within historical records. Because an executed or otherwise authenticated copy of the current bylaws could not be located, legal counsel reviewed the available records and advised the most prudent and conservative approach is for the board to formally confirm the current version of the bylaws as the corporation's operative governing document. Council advised that this action will establish a clear record regarding which versions of the bylaws govern the corporation and will minimize uncertainty for future boards, members, lenders, auditors, and others who may review the governing documents. Following board approval, the executed resolution and certificate should be attached to the operative bylaws and maintained together in the corporation's permanent records. The proposed resolution documents that the board conducted a diligent search of the corporation's records, was unable to locate an executed or dated copy of the operative bylaws or any alternative version, and concludes that the current bylaws relied upon by the corporation are the controlling governing document. The accompanying certificate executed by the secretary further certifies that the attached bylaws have been acknowledged by the board and membership as the corporation's operative bylaws. This action does not amend or modify the substance of the bylaws. Rather, it confirms and memorializes the bylaws that have been recognized and relied upon by the corporation for many years as its governing document. It is an administrative action intended to establish a clear chain of documentation for the corporation's records. And legal recommendation is to adopt the resolution confirming the operative bylaws and authorize the board president and secretary to execute the resolution. Further, authorize the secretary to execute the accompanying certificate and attach both the executed resolution and certificate to the operative bylaws for inclusion in the corporation's permanent records.
Any questions for Deborah on this? Nace, you had a question? No. Okay, any questions? Okay, Nace, would you be willing to move the action?
I move that we adopt the resolution confirming the operative bylaws and authorize the board president and secretary to execute the resolution. In addition, we authorize, the motion includes that we authorize the secretary to execute the accompanying certificate and attach both the executed resolution and certificate to the operative bylaws for inclusion in the corporation's permanent records.
Okay, could we have a second? I'll second. Leanne seconds, okay, and a roll call vote?
Yes, Hildreth?
Yes.
Bentley?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Hamachi?
Yes.
Spence?
Yes.
Ruvalo?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
And Yang?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay, thank you, everyone, and that concludes our business today. I'd like to announce, as we have mentioned before, that the annual joint meeting of the Board of Directors and the Finance Committee will be held on Tuesday, September 8th and Wednesday, September 9th at 9 a.m. in the Fireside Room at the Gateway Complex and via Zoom webinar. The board will meet with the Finance Committee to hear the presentation of the proposed RWC and RPM operations budget for 2027. Also, the end of the month regular meeting of the board will be held on Thursday, September 24th at 9 a.m. in Peacock Hall, as well as via Zoom webinar. And we will now be adjourning to an executive session meeting, in which we will discuss legal personnel, member discipline, and third-party contract matters. So we are recessing to our executive session. Thank you, everyone.